Hello guys, welcome to day one video. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. It is currently 11:41 a.m. on the next day. It is April 14th, 2025. And in case you were wondering what the gameplay is in the background, that is the Attack on Titan Tribute Game 2. I just installed it the other day, got back into playing it. It's been loads of fun. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into what the day is going to look like. Alright, so what you're going to see on screen here is going to be my baseline reference for everything that I'm going to be basing my training off of. So as you can see here, the reference game is going to be the Finals Season 6. I play on a sensitivity of 20 with an aim down sight sensitivity multiplier of 0.88. And for those of you who play on the 360 distance to centimeters, it's going to be 24.0632 or 24 rounding down. As for my mouse DPI, I probably play on a higher one than probably the majority of people play on. It's going to be 1900. I find that with the lower sense and the higher DPI gives me relatively decent accuracy, but we're looking to improve that, so we'll see if that changes or not. As for the PC hardware specifications, as majority of you probably know some form or fashion of hardware, or if you're like me who absolutely love computers and build them, here are my specifications. Now, I'm not going to read those off because those are on the screen, so feel free to pause the video or take a look at that and see what you think. Okay, so now what's on your screen is going to be my benchmark that I got from Kovacs, and the benchmark I use is the Voltaic Novice S4. And so if you look on the right side, it kind of breaks down the multiple categories, the kind of ones that I'm going to be looking at. So you got your precision, which is going to be your clicking static. You're going to be looking at the speed, which is going to be the clicking dynamic. And then you're going to have your tracking reactive, which is going to be a bit of tracking and reactive. And then you got your speed, which is switching speed, and switch evasive. So that is currently what I got on what I have right now. So I'm going to be practicing these over the course of this morning. I'm going to record some of it. I'm going to put them up on the screen here, and then we're going to take a look, and I'm going to explain and feel what I'm feeling today. Now, I'm going to try and do my best to explain everything that I'm feeling, like I got too much hand tension, too much arm tension, or like, yep, this feels good, mouse sensitivity feels great, I'm feeling jittery, whatever it might be. I'm going to try and do my best to document everything that I can and explain my findings. Alright, so what we have here to start off with is the time clicking category, and it's going to be this, forgive me, I don't know how to pronounce it, Paus Rasp Novice? It's something like that. So with this one, it was miniature spheres, and they moved in a dynamic pattern, which was mostly random, and I had to click and read as many of them as I can. The video was sped up for time's sake, but this is the final score that I got for the first game I was trying. And funnily enough, from the last time that I played it, it looks like that I had actually broken a personal record. So I actually didn't get it recorded, but the game number 5 off of my set for the first benchmark, I actually beat my personal best twice. So as you saw in the first part, I had broken my previous best from when I last played, and then on the 5th game, I actually blew even further past that, which is really interesting. Okay, so benchmark number 2 was the Bounce Shot Novice, and this one was kind of self-explanatory. It's like when you throw a basketball onto a court and it bounces up and down and you kind of like follow it. So it's going to be that kind of similar style, and what I had to do is I had to kind of intermix that click timing dynamic while they were moving in more of a bouncing like pattern, hence the name Bounce Shot. Now on this one, I did notice that it seemed very comfortable for me. I was able to start tracking them pretty good after about game 3, which is what I believe I got my high score on. But on this, I definitely noticed that I was using more of my arm and adjusting with my wrist rather than my fingertips, so I found that to be pretty interesting. So as the video came to an end there, you saw that I got a final score of 510 with my previous current high score 630. So on the 5th game of benchmark number 2, I noticed that I started to really adapt to the bounce patterns and the click timing with the light up yellow orb as I hover over my mouse cursor. It kind of triggered my brain to be like, when this turns yellow, click. So when that scorecard comes up, you see that on my first attempt I did okay, second attempt did horribly, and then really spiked up on the 3rd try. Game number 4 I kind of went down a little bit, and then on game number 5 I really started to notice that I really was getting the hang of it so much that I was even almost able to reach my previous best. Alright, so benchmark number 3 is going to be a hyper precision training exercise, which means that I am tasked with clicking very small spherical objects and trying to get them as fast as I possibly can for a good high score. So here on the first game wasn't too bad. I felt like I had a pretty good grasp on it. I was mainly focusing on when that sphere turned yellow, and that was kind of what was helping me trying to keep track with that. And then eventually around game 3 or 4 I decided that that was taking too long, and I was more focusing on, is my crosshair covering the entire target or was it not? And so with that one, I had ended up with a final score of 740 with a concurrent high score of 790. So benchmark number 4 was very similar to benchmark number 3 in terms of the gameplay, except the spears are a lot bigger and there's a few more. So this one had me essentially do the same thing, click the small spheres in the fastest time possible, but they're a bit bigger so I can add a little bit more speed on them. And since I was already warmed up to the previous benchmark, this one felt pretty easy. I did notice that my hand in the certain position that it was, I had to keep adjusting it a little bit to try and compensate for a little bit more of the speed and precision aspect of it, because my hand is attuned for more of a tracking style gameplay. So when it comes to these more slower precision type stuff that you have to intermix with speed, I notice I have to change up my mouse grip just a little bit. So at the end of that benchmark, I received a final score of 1,150 with a concurrent high score of 1,260. Benchmark number 4, game 3, was very similar to game number 1, so I just kind of sped it up here, but I achieved a relatively similar score, sitting at 1,120 with a concurrent high score of 1,260. So here we are for benchmark number 5, and this is going to be focusing more on a person-like tracking. So this one is called Smoothbot Novice, and this one was particularly difficult because it was kind of speedy, not one you would particularly see in a whole lot of games like this. So the first little bit I did pretty decently. As the games went on, I did notice to start to feel some sort of fatigue, and my aim and tracking started to become a little more jittery, a little bit more less consistent, and it was very hard to start keeping track here. You'll see that on the next section here, because this one's just about to end up. And this one, I believe I got a little bit lower score than my personal PB, and that was surprising to see because it shows that I had some sort of consistency there, so that was good. On the next one, I definitely started to notice a whole heap and lot more of shaking. That is for sure. There was a lot of times when I was really behind it, and that really shows. As you see, my score, it dipped down a lot, and it came back up a little bit. And as you see on benchmark number 5, we ended with a score of 2,748 with a concurrent high score of 2,873. So as you'll see on this one is the Precise Orb, and this one I wasn't a huge fan of. This one was very much up and down and up and down, and I had a very hard time tracking my target with it. So I sped up the footage here because it was really annoying, and I started to get kind of irritated, but it's one of those things where it's like the frustration comes from something you're trying to learn new, and it was really showing on this one. So I did this one for a couple of games. As you'll see, my high score came up to a 1,605 compared to my previous high score, which was 1,531. So there was improvement, but I just didn't like it. So now when it comes to benchmark number 7, on here, this is more of kind of like how benchmark number 5 was, but instead of floating up in the air, it's more on a static, flat, horizontal plane. And this one really tested my back and forth reaction and stability. So as you can see on some of these on here, I get the tracking really good, and others I am overcompensating, undercompensating, and it's just really tricky. It's definitely a good thing for adjusting micro adjustments, that is entirely for sure. On here, I definitely noticed that my arm and my hand were not really in sync as much as I would have liked them to, because my arm would follow it, but then my wrist would overcompensate or it would undercompensate. Thus, I closed out the first game with a score of 2,886 compared to the concurrent high score of 3,054. Okay, so when it comes to benchmark number 8, benchmark number 8 is another floating and tracking one. This one in particular has a similar feel like benchmark number 5, and I say that because it is kind of like that floaty air one, but except this one is a big sphere and it floats around in more of the close quarters combat situations, where the other one was more of like a mid to far distance type. Now, I do have to say I am pretty good at this one. I do really like how it feels, and it feels very good with reactions and speed. So my final score for benchmark number 8 came out to 2,799 with the concurrent high score of 3,131. So now that we're done with the benchmarks, now what we're going to do is we're just going to keep practice over that, because you're going to see exactly what I'm going to be doing. I broke down all of the benchmarks that I'll be doing and things like that, so it's going to be kind of like a daily checkup thing. The videos will be a little bit shorter. I will definitely try to keep note of like the changes, things I come across, say like, hey, this worked, this didn't, and we will keep updated off of that. Overall, for day 1, not a whole lot of improvements. We had a couple breaks in the personal best records off of a couple of the examples there, so that is some form of improvement. I'll be curious to see how that develops over the next several days with a consistent schedule and things like that. So hopefully we can get a even better aim, or at least a considerable amount of aim going forward. So my goal is to have a performance increase of anywhere between 10 to 15% or likewise. So that is going to be the ultimate end of the goal. So if I can at least get better records and better consistency overall to where it's even just a little bit noticeable, I will take that. So yeah, that's day 1. Thank you guys for keeping up on this, and I will see you on day 2.